So in this video, I'm going to explore 6 examples where you can have an early retirement before 65. I'm going to go through multiple case studies and how you can think about investing, saving, and retirement before 65, whether you need to work 45 years, 10 years, or even less than 1 year. Now, 96.4% of you guys have not subscribed yet, and it is free, and you can always change your mind in the future. And in terms of this month, I'm looking to help 20 full-time professionals without a financial background to master investing in Investing Accelerator, and the stretch goal is 30 people. So let's talk about whether you'll get an early retirement before the age of 65. We'll first dive into the question of what is a pension? And typically, you'll get a pension deal with a government or your employer, and usually it goes something like this. Is the average income for the last 3 to 5 years. Usually it is the best 5 years of your employment history. So let's say you make $100,000 to $150,000 in your last 5 years. And every year you retire, you get that amount forever. It sounds like a pretty good deal. So assume you don't die for a very long time. How much is your pension worth? So to do that, I'll need to introduce you to the concept of an annuity. So let's see if the book Intelligent Investor talks about annuity. Talks about inflation, history, defensive investor, the negative approach. It doesn't really talk about annuity, eh? There's no annuity. Oh, I stand corrected. It talks about annuity, page 110. Here is Benjamin Graham's view on annuity. Annuities. These insurance-like investments enable you to defer current taxes and capture a stream of income after you retire. But what the defensive investor really needs to defend against here are the hard-selling insurance agents, stockbrokers, and financial planners who peddle annuities at ridiculously high costs. In most cases, the high expenses of owning an annuity, including surrender charges that gnaw away at your early withdrawal, will overwhelm its advantages. The feel-good annuities are bought, not sold. If an annuity produces fat commission for the seller, chances are it will produce meager results for the buyer. And when it comes to investing in annuity, you are the buyer. So you should only consider buying annuities from providers from rock bottom costs like Emeritus, TIAA, and Vanguard. So obviously this book is old, so it might be different nowadays. But nevertheless, I think you get what an annuity is. An annuity is that you will receive a fixed amount of income continuously forever. Now, typically, we can actually make it more realistic by assuming this payment to be around 30 years or 40 years, depending on whether you're retiring at 60 or 70. But in this case, we're just going to assume that you want this kind of income forever. And you'll understand why as we go through the analysis. So what an annuity means is that in year 1, you'll get 100K. In year 2, you'll get 100K. Year 3, 100K, so on and so forth. And in this case, I'm not adjusting for inflation or whatnot, so to keep our model relatively simple. So here is the formula for annuity to calculate how much this stream of cash flow is worth. And it's quite simple actually. You take the income you want to make divided by the discount rate you want to apply. And this discount rate can be the return you make. For example, let's say I want to make $100,000 per year from this pension divided by my return, which is 5% a year. That will be how much the annuity is worth today. Quite straightforward, right? So when it comes to investing, sometimes you'll encounter annuity that are offered by banks or other financial institutions. And you can actually use the formula I just taught you to calculate what is the expected return that you'll get for the annuity. And let's say your annuity is 100K a year or even just 10K a year. So then you take that and divide it by how much the annuity costs you today, so then you can get the interest rate. So that way you'll know whether you're getting a good return or not. So we're going to go through a couple of scenario analysis. The first one is your pension offers you $100,000 per year and your return is 10%. So that means your pension is worth $1 million. So I would think that is actually quite reasonable when you consider a lot of people trying to be a millionaire, because once you reach that millionaire status, then effectively you can invest and get $100,000 a year if your portfolio is 10% a year. So example number 2, your pension offers you $100,000 per year and your return is 5%. So that means your pension is worth $2 million. So that means for most people, if you're investing in an ETF or investing in a market and you're getting somewhere between 5% to 10% a year, when you retire, your pension is worth somewhere between 1 to 2 million a year. So that means whether you're 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, and you're saving on a monthly basis, you just need to get to 1 to 2 million a year. So that is one of the key observations. And here is a third example, which is a little bit extreme. That's your pension offers you $100,000 a year and your return is 30%. And that means your pension is worth $330,000. So as you can see, if you're aiming for a 30% return, then that drastically reduces the size of your pension and the amount of money you need to save to achieve the same level of income. But of course, not everyone in the market can get 30%, and it does require some additional skills to get there. So for most people, your pension is probably going to be worth somewhere between 1 to 2 million. So we're going to go with that assumption and dig a little bit deeper. And of course, if you know how to get 30% return a year, then of course you will reach your goal faster, which is fantastic. But in this case, we'll focus on the general public, which is somewhere between 1 to 2 million. Now, let's say you work for 45 years, and that is our base case in a corporate job or a government job. So you really take that 1 million divided by 45 years, and that is $20,000 of saving per year. And that assumes you earn zero interest, zero inflation. So this is really the base case is a little bit unrealistic because even the bank will give you like 0.25 interest and the inflation is somewhere between 2 to 3% when it comes to long-term inflation. So that means you'll need to save $1,666 in order for you to reach $1 million in 45 years. So that is the base case. And if it is not clear, I just basically took 1 million divided by 45 years divided by 12. So what if you make 5% a year? Most people are going to be working 45 years and your goal is $1 million pension. So if you make 5% a year and you compound it over time, then you're really saving around $6,000 per year. So if you divide it by $6,000 across 12 months, then that would be $500 a month for 12 months. So that is pretty realistic, and I think a lot of people can actually achieve that. Now let's be a little bit more aggressive and look at the high end. What if you make 10% a year? So same calculation, except we increase the return. So that means you need to save $1,200 a year, reinvest and compound by 10% over time. So that's only a monthly saving of $100 a month. So when you think about it, wow, given that you'll be working for the next 45 years or whatnot, you can just save $100 a month and you'll be able to retire with $1 million pension. So that means if you save $200 a month, then you'll be able to retire with a $2 million pension, which is near the high end. And when you take a step back and think about the numbers I just showed you, it means in order for you to achieve financial freedom over a period of 65 years, you're really looking to save somewhere between $100, which is on the low end, to $500, which is on the high end, with a lower return on your portfolio. Now let's do a crazy scenario. What if you make 30% a year? And in this case, if you are able to compound and reinvest over 45 years, so you just need to save $12 a year, which is $1 a month. When I did the calculation, I thought to myself, wow, this looks ridiculous, so I need to check the math. So I went ahead and checked the math, and that is really because if you compound your portfolio consistently with 30% over 45 years, because it is such a long period of time that even if you just save $1 a month, you'll be able to achieve that goal. This is a little bit unrealistic because who's going to be saving $1 a month, first of all? And second, we're saying that you can achieve 30% every single year without fail for 45 years, which means you beat the market every single year for 45 years. So you can think about that and evaluate the likelihood of that happening. There are going to be some good years and some bad years as well. And a 30% growth really allows you to save very little money and still retire because you have 45 years to compound it. So far, the previous 3 scenarios I went through, I kept the years constant. I assume you start working at 20 and you want to retire by 65. So you work for 45 years. But what if you want to retire as soon as possible? What if you don't want to be waiting 45 years and slaving away on your day job for so long? So instead of asking, how much money do you need to save per month to get to 1 million in 45 years? We should ask what we can do to get to 1 million as fast as possible and how long would it take? So let's start with a base case and we look at wanting to retire in the next 10 years. And this is perfect for my subscribers that are 40 years old or 50 years old where you're looking to retire in the next 10 years or so. And let's say you make 5% return, which is on the low end. If you are starting from zero today, then you will need to save $7,000 a month every month for the next 10 years to reach that goal. And that is $84,000 of saving per year. And if you think about the math in your head, it kind of makes sense because the return is low. So if you take $84 60,000 times 10, that's 840,000. So you add on a little bit in terms of the return. So the math checks out. Now, what if you're able to make 10% return? Then in that case, if you're starting from zero today, then you will need to save $5,000 a month every month for the next 10 years in order to retire. So that is $60,000 per year of savings. And that is why when you're looking at the financial independence and retire early FIRE community, they always focus a lot on cutting your expenses. Because you can see if you are able to save your income, which is basically a full-time salary, just save it for 10 years, you will be able to reach $1 million. Now, of course, that takes a lot of discipline, and that means you might need to give up something like having kids or having a family, or you need to live at home or whatnot. But that's what the community is all about, is intense cost cutting to the point where you can save until you hit that target. Now, in this case, if you have a family, if you have a full-time job, and you have a lot of things going on in your life, like mortgage payments or car loans, chances are you wouldn't be able to save $5,000 to $7,000 per month. Now, let's look at a third example, which is more extreme, 30% return. Now, in this case, if you're starting from scratch, you will still need to save $2,500 per month, every month for the next 10 years. So that is $30,000 of savings per year. So this is drastically lower than 5% and 10% return, but still it requires quite a bit of discipline for you to save this level of money. And when I'm talking about $1 million pension, you're really looking at $100,000 per year when you're retiring. So you need to evaluate whether that is enough for you and your spouse or just you alone. So let's think about ways where you can explore the path to retirement faster. So that actually brings me to the concept of entrepreneurship. So when you think about some extreme cases where people choose to become an entrepreneur, there are a couple of ways you can do it. So let's say you are starting an e-commerce company and the average per product is $5. I'm looking at lower ticket products. So you'll need to sell 200,000 units in a year or however many years to get $1 million. So when you think about it, hey, maybe it's not that difficult to sell 200,000 units, because if you take 200,000 units a year divided by 12, so that's what, only 20,000 units a month. So then you just need to find some high volume product that you can achieve this kind of volume. The second option is really starting a software company. And let's say the average profit per customer is 200 a month or 2,000 per year. So that means you'll need 500 customers to 5,000 customers in total. Some of the businesses that came to my mind, including Spotify or MailChimp or hosting services or Netflix or Disney Plus, where you're offering a subscription model to customers to solve a very specific need. So if you do have these skills, you can actually consider starting a business. The third one is really being a YouTuber. And here you are looking at one. But basically, you get somewhere along the lines of $10 per 1,000 views. So to some people, this might seem like a lot. To some people, it might seem like not a lot. But if you have tried getting views on YouTube, like what I'm doing right now, you'll realize it's quite difficult to become a big YouTube star. But nevertheless, it means that you need 100 million views in order to reach $1 million. So if you look at some music video, then hey, you can achieve that quite easily. But if you're looking at my tiny little channel, then you'll realize that I'm miles away from reaching that goal. So you might think, holy cow, Eric is never going to get there. But that's not the purpose of this channel. The purpose of this channel is to teach you investing. And if you can think of other forms of business, whether it's a laundromat, whether it's a restaurant, whether it is an insurance company, you just need to calculate what is the profit per unit, and then use $1 million and divide it by that profit per unit so then you know how many units you need to sell. And here's where you realize that success does require hard work. And hard work and knowledge today will save you years into working in the future. So instead of working 45 years at a corporate job to retire, you might have a better idea on how you can reach that $1 million to $2 million pension in a shorter amount of time. Because let's say today you don't have a job and you ask yourself, okay, would I rather go work at a corporate job for 25, 35, 45 years to reach $1 million to $2 million pension? Or would I rather figure out a way, use my creativity, and see if I can get to $1 million to $2 million faster? So that is really the key difference. And that is a fundamentally change in mindset. So when it comes to investing and planning for retirement, my goal is really to make 30% a year. And that's why in this video, I made a couple of examples where I talk about getting to the pension amount using 30% return a year, which allows me to get there faster and also in a shorter amount of time and also save less money. So if you're interested in knowing how I get a higher return in the market, then you can get the 4-hour free case study that is on my website. So this is perfect for you if you are a full-time professional without a financial background, you want to retire early, and you want to manage your own portfolio as well. So the link is down below. It's 5minuteinvesting.com/free case study. So you can grab the training in the description. In terms of some of the students I've helped in the past, here you can see that Aaron made 16% from CAE, an airline related company, in 4 weeks. Andy made 35% from ADP in 3 months. And Mike made 78% from ADP, 16% from CAE, and 19% from Southwest Airline as well. So congratulations to Aaron, Andy, and Mike. These are a fantastic return, and that will help you get to retirement faster. So in terms of the giveaway for this video, I'm going to be giving away one of my favorite books, The One Thing, The Surprising Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results. So if you want this book, then just gently tap the like button, leave a comment below, and once we reach 100 likes, I'll pick a winner. And for a previous giveaway for Rich Dad and Poor Dad, the book, I have selected George as the winner. George, if you're watching this video, make sure to reach out to me. I have left a comment on exactly how you can redeem this book for that video. So congratulations, George. For the next video, I'm going to talk about an update on Wall Street Buys Me a Tesla series and how the portfolio is doing and what is the new investment I have made. So I'll see you in the next video.